There were more than a couple Grand Prix when Valtteri went missing as Mercedes number 2 driver. That will never sit well with me ever. Valtteri Bottas in the swimming pool. What?
If you're going to invoke sabotage, dude, I'm going to invoke your favorite razor, Hamlet. Like, why would you put down to sabotage what you can definitely put down to incompetence? Like 2 to 3 degrees out of the tire blanket in the grand scheme of things is not really what I would call underhanded tactics.
Yeah, we all forget that he and Lewis are close. Like they do have a
close.
Well, no, come on now, come on now. Like,
are Mercedes back? Hello and welcome to another episode of the Shakedown. With me as always, my brethren, my friends, my brothers, the one they call Sir Baxty and the one they call Shazino. How are we doing, chaps? It doesn't matter how you're doing for the avoidance of doubt. So we talk about some F1age, because apparently there's a couple of things that have happened between now and the last time we convened. I'm going to talk as first order priority to one Sir Lewis Hamilton. And I'm going to play devil's advocate with you, chaps. In fact, you know what, Baxter, let me come to you first. Is Lewis Hamilton being sabotaged by Mercedes?
I'm not going to repeat what I said on the last episode, but no, he's not. Well, not intentionally, if this tyre thing is to be believed. I think that's just a little bit of operational error on their part. So, for context, for those who may not have heard, after the race in Canada, he said that in quali, certainly in Q3, he didn't feel like his tyres had been brought up to temperature properly in the tyre blanket. And then he spent a lot of the lap struggling to get his tyres up to temperature. I mean, that was probably only a minor fraction of the reason why he was so far off. And he wasn't even that far off, really, was he, in Q3? I think a huge reason for it was because he screwed up, made a massive mistake into the last chicane, which cost him up near 2 tenths at maximum.
Go on and hang on, Baxty, though. If Lewis's tyres were below the expected temperature, I know James Allison spoke to this in the Mercedes debrief, that they can't heat them. They need them to be at 70, but they can only heat them to 30 or whatever. But if Lewis has got in the car and he sees a reading of, you know what, I should really look at the onboard because you can see the numbers, can't you? But if his tyres are saying 28, isn't that then, what are you attributing it to? Ineptitude rather than deliberate sabotage?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't think they're... What do Mercedes have to gain from sabotaging Lewis Hamilton? You know, it would ruin them reputationally as a team. This is a team that's been, for 10 years, has been built upon racing hard, racing fair, and racing the right way. If they're all of a sudden resorting to dirty tricks to sabotage their departing star driver just because of a big FU, because how dare you leave us? I mean, their reputation would be in the mud. And Mercedes are like a lot of companies on the grid, reputation focused. You know, they're very conscious of their public image, and they wouldn't want to sacrifice that just to screw over one bloke. I mean, yes, it's a very it's some bloke we're talking about, but he's not gonna. They're not gonna ruin themselves just out of spite. It's too dangerous for them as a team, and the knock-on effect it would have onto the main brand Mercedes, let alone Mercedes AMG Petronas.
But this is going to get techie, Baxty. Shez, chime in on this quickly before I monopolise the microphone.
Yeah, I mean, I think Merc aren't even the worst offenders. I think Ferrari are sabotaging Charles Leclerc far more. I mean, they brought him in for a pit stop and whacked him on dry tires, didn't they? In a wet race. I mean, if you're going to invoke sabotage, dude, I'm going to invoke your favorite razor, Hanlon. Like, why would you put down to sabotage what you can definitely put down to incompetence? Like 2 to 3 degrees out of the tire blanket in the grand scheme of things is not really what I would call underhanded tactics, right? It was a tiny little thing that could happen to anybody. And when you're looking really hard to find something, some reason why you haven't beaten your teammate again at possibly your favorite track, you're going to find something, aren't you? And this seemed like a convenient thing. And he says it once, and the entire fan base goes, "There you go. Told you Merck were trying to sabotage him." And here we are having this conversation.
All right, go on. Why didn't they put him on mediums then, Chess?
Look, I'm going to answer it
did.
like a complete noddy, but James Allison answered this pretty extensively in the Merck debrief.
Go on. Why didn't they put him on? Why didn't they put him on mediums? Because I mean
well,
that was
they
the
did.
quickest tire, right?
First of all, they did, didn't they? They put him on mediums after the first
Yeah, but I'm
safety
on about
car
the last stint, Chess. Why didn't they put him on mediums again?
because they didn't have any new mediums, and they only had a brand new set of hard tires, and they had a brand new set of soft tires. And like, this isn't coming from me, this is coming from James Allison, who said, look, we had a free pit stop. It wouldn't have made sense not to put him on a new set of tires. So there's no point bringing him in for a pit stop and then putting him on used tires.
So hang on then, Chess. Did they have a brand new set of softs?
Go on.
They did have a brand new set of softs, Baxty.
They did, but they wouldn't have lasted the 15 laps that were left. That's
in
why
fact,
they didn't.
nobody put on softs
During
in
practice. Everyone had said because it's the C5, which is the softest compound tire.
Yeah.
On a green drying track, it would have gone so fast, and it would have lost Lewis a load of points because he would have just been swallowed up by those behind him. So
it's not Monaco,
No, like they had to put him on the hard tire. Lewis's strategy was basically ruined by the second safety car. They could have left him out, which I think he would have preferred, but then he would have been vulnerable to George behind on softer tires, on softer, newer tires. Yeah, he may have got Piastri because I think there was something went wrong there with Oscar, but Mercedes, should they have pitted, should they not? That's the question for me. It's not whether did they put him on the right tire.
Well, go on then, Baxter. The question is, should they have given him the free pit stop?
Yeah. I mean, you look at the pace of those in front. You look at the pace of Max and Lando. Their pace wasn't actually that bad on those slightly older medium tires. In fact, I think Max won the race because of the way that he was able to drive away in that stint. That for me was the race clinching moment because the McLaren had some serious pace this weekend as well. And I think that, yes, you want fresher tyres more often than not, but would it have been worth sticking the hards on? I don't know. I think it's a 50-50. I think damned if you do, damned if you don't type situation, really.
I think this is it though, Baxi. I think if they had not brought him in for a pit stop and they for whatever reason brought in George and put him on a brand spanking new set of mediums,
oh mate, forget about it.
Then we would have sat here going, why is everyone complaining
sabotage
about it? You know what I mean? It's just
yeah. People were gonna moan about them anyway.
Whatever happened, yeah.
But go on then, chaps. Lewis isn't. I think this is no longer me doing devil's advocate. Lewis isn't. Or historically, I don't think Lewis is a liar, right? I know that there's a thing around him, 39, 40 years old, as he lost the 1040, potentially in terms of absolute pace. But it's not like Lewis, because this isn't the first time that he's spoken in subliminal terms of potential sabotage, right? Like pretty much, as near as makes no difference, all season, Lewis has been saying, well, between free practice and qualifying, something just happens to my pace. It fades to black and it just goes away. I don't understand what's happening. He spoke about it again at the Canadian Grand Prix. So the words were something like, well, and even he said the other day, are they turning down my engine? Something's happening and I don't understand. The grip just wasn't there. He's trying to tell us something without telling us, isn't he, Shez? Surely by contradicting, by saying that there's no skullduggery and cloaks and daggers going on in the background, are we not then contradicting Sir Lewis? Are we not calling Sir Lewis a liar, Shez?
Every day I feel like Lewis's narrative gets more and more like Alain Prost. Prost talking about Honda engines marked only for Ayrton or special for Ayrton turning up at Woking.
Yeah, but Shez,
Um,
that was true. Was that not true?
no.
What do you mean? How was that not true?
100% wasn't true.
Alan Prost
100%
saw
wasn't
engines
true.
that had Senna's logo. What? So you're calling Alan Prost a lie? Go on, correct me.
Well, I mean, because basically what you're going to be saying is, okay, who's lying? Is it Allah lying or is it Honda lying? Like, one of the two have to be right, don't they? And look, like Lewis isn't saying anything like that, though, is he? He's not. Lewis isn't saying out and out, they are turning my engine down. He's a driver who is on the end of an 8-1 drubbing in qualifying to his extremely fast teammate, and is looking for reasons. You know, when he's able to dig deep and get what he needs to out of the car, he won't be making these excuses. And to his eternal credit, the last interview he did after the race, that's what he said. He said, "Look, this is on me. I didn't get enough out of the car. George just did a better job." And my sort of feeling about this is that, look, he got the new wing and he expected to be like miles quicker than George, because I think he has that internal belief, and I do too, that when a car gets better, he gets exponentially better with it, right? This is what he's done throughout his career, and it just didn't happen for him at his favorite track. But he only got it for one race. He's had it at a race with changeable conditions. It wasn't the ideal situation for him to prepare in, and then the conditions changed massively from practice into qualifying. So there's a multitude of reasons for why what happened. And what I would expect is, from now, if the car develops as Merck and the rest of the grid expect it to do, and it becomes more and more competitive, I think that 8-1 deficit will get redressed, and he won't be making these excuses anymore. We'll look back at this and think, yeah, it was amusing, but nothing. It wasn't anything other than a driver trying to rationalize what is happening to him on track.
Baxty, let me pitch this one at you. It must be sabotage, bruv, because George went away between free practice and quali and was allowed access to Lewis's telemetry, learned from the telemetry, the way he was bringing the tyres up to their optimal temperature, and then went out and improved himself and iterated for that. And he couldn't have done that. That shows you that Lewis Hamilton is the greatest, and ultimately George couldn't have done that but for Lewis. Hence, go, Baxty. Sabotage? No,
not at all. I think you're playing devil's advocate here, mate. I can see it. No, look, I'm sure. I mean, teammates do share their data. I mean, we've seen it before. Some teammates don't, but clearly at Mercedes they do. And I see nothing wrong with George looking at Lewis's telemetry to better himself. I mean, we all said when George got the seat in 2021, like, oh, it's great. He's going to be learning from Lewis. And then you got the Tin Hat Brigade going, how dare you be faster than Lewis from learning from him? Like, you're not supposed to do the thing that we want you to do. But it's, I mean, like, I'll give you an example. It's like me listening to recordings of great singers in order to better myself in something that I'm learning. So if I'm learning a new aria, I will find 4, 5, 6 different singers and versions of them singing it to better understand how I can better sing that aria that I'm doing, or the role that I'm learning. So I see those two in as the exact same thing. Lewis is the greatest of all time. He's given me a drubbing in practice. Okay, how do I get better? And to Lewis saying I lose pace and lose pace, I have this to say to him: like, Lewis, first of all, you made a mistake, and second of all, you were in one of 2 cars to go sub 112 in that qualifying session, both of which were your team's cars. Yes, you were slower than George in that session, but you still went under the 112. Not even Max Verstappen did that. He got as close as you can get, but he didn't do it. And that means for me that he made a mistake on used tyres in Q3. His best time came on used tyres, but also those changing conditions in the second run completely screwed any chance he had of getting further up the grid. I think he was frustrated at himself because he knew he had a car not just capable of being on the front row of the grid, but he backed himself to go and win the race should he be in that position. So he's thrown away a chance to get a first race win since 21. And also he's just frustrated himself for not extracting the level of performance that he expects from himself. We've always seen this from Lewis. He expects to win every race he enters. Now, he knows realistically he won't do that, but that's the expectation he has. How can I win this race? It's what endears him to so many people. And when he's not getting the level of performance that he wants, there is no harsher critic than himself.
Okay, all right then. But Shez, I will see you that and raise you this, Shez. Why didn't they do mediums hards? Why were they splitting strategies since it was patently obvious that mediums to hards was the way forward, Shez? Isn't that then evidence of sabotage, sir?
Do you mean the other way around? Like, why didn't they go hards to mediums?
Bang. Correction. Yeah, there you go. I'm asking you the questions as I've been asked them. But go on, Shez.
I mean, in hindsight, that seems obvious, doesn't it? But how can you know that Carlos Sainz is going to do a Felipe Massa Silverstone 2008 in the middle of a corner, and Alex Albon's going to end up in the wall? How did you know there was going to be a second safety car? The mediums at the time were the ideal pick. In fact, I think James Allison picked up that question in his debrief again. I love the fact that he's done all my homework for me, as he probably should. But the question he asked was, you shouldn't be asking us why we stuck Lewis on hards in the second under the second safety car. You should be asking, why did we stick George on hards under the first one? If you really want to ask the question, why were they screwing George over? And the answer, predictably, is that we didn't want to put all our eggs in one basket, which is a fairly standard Formula One team response, which he answered nicely, I thought.
It's not that hard, is it? But I feel like I don't want to do the gatekeeping thing. I said on the stream earlier on in the week that I understand that this is partially attributable to knowledge gaps, right? That we've got a ton of new Drive to Survive fans in the sport who don't understand that it would have been illegal, disqualification worthy even, to take George's mediums on the final stint and give them to Lewis as an example. Like, there are all these things that I desperately don't want to do the knowledge snobbery thing as far as F1's concerned, but I think it is an education piece. A lot of this sabotage talk comes from knowledge or lack thereof, and it's techie. People can have a bit, and that's not to say, by the way, chaps, as I double talk and play both sides. Listen, F1 is a sport where sabotage and skullduggery has always been present. True or false, chaps? Like, as long as I've been watching it, F1 teams have been shady as entities. They conduct the best deals and get them signed in the dark, right? Like, I just feel like that's always been a thing. So and even more to again see what you guys have just said and raise you. Like, why? How are Mercedes incentivized to be equal in their treatment of Messrs Lewis, Messrs Hamilton and Russell? How? Lewis is leaving though. So surely at some point they need to put all of their eggs, if agency is a thing at Mercedes, they need to put all their eggs in the Russell basket. Or am I being too harsh?
Like, I don't think so in terms of like out and out. Like, I think the way that works is it's not that you hold one driver back, right? It's not a sabotage thing. It's not that you actively try and make it more difficult for one of your drivers. It's just that when one of your drivers is going to another team, that the natural progress of things is that the driver that is staying, in this instance George Russell, it's not even preferential treatment. It's just that when a new development comes along, it's going to probably go on George's car first if there's only one of those developments. That's not okay. And I know that's not what happened in Monaco, but that's just normal in everyday Formula One. Go on, Patsy. Sorry,
Yeah, no. So this was addressed post Monaco by I think it was James Allison or Shove. One of them whoever did the post race, and basically they said that we had to bring upgrades forward. So because the drivers wanted us to, and then Lewis elected not to take the front wing.
Yeah.
And then they've said that if that situation arises again, Lewis gets the upgrade first, and it will.
So I mean, actually, they're doing what they don't even need to do, is what I would say. Is that like it would be natural for them to just give upgrades first to George, and I don't think personally I would have any qualms with that because he's not the driver that's staying, is he? So it kind of makes sense in terms of like, okay, on track. So if for example, George is ahead of Lewis in a race, they're running 1-2 and Lewis is on better tires. If they turn around and said, Lewis, don't attack, I'd say, okay, that's probably not fair, right? Especially in a non-championship winning season when neither driver has got a chance of winning the title, the title. I think that's out of order. But by the same token, if Lewis is ahead and George is on better tires and they say, George, you're allowed to attack, that's also fine. That's not sabotaging Lewis. That's just, again, Merc being true to form. It's how they've always run their ship. It's always been both drivers can race. They did it in Canada. Yeah, go on.
It's techie, this Shez. Because again, if we're talking about sabotage, 2016, Rosberg versus Lewis, yeah? All of those reliability issues, I remember in real time. I'm not sure, so I think this now, like 10 years, nearly 10 years after the fact. But in 2016, I remember looking at all of the stuff that they were doing and just thinking, wait, hold on. They desperately want a German champion in a German car. All the reliability, switching the bloody teams around mid-season. Like, I was just like, this is obvious. Like, and I think a lot of fans are kind of falling into the same trap that I fell into, but I would twist it again ever so slightly and counter it. If I'm Toto Wolff, Shez and Baxty, mate, like we wouldn't be having this conversation. It would be clear and obvious that Lewis wasn't getting the same treatment that George Russell, particularly after Lewis is accusing in like subliminal terms Mercedes of doing things. I'd be like, all right, then you know what, like, cool. If that's the game that we're playing, sabotage, right? Even though I think we've been fair now up until, but if you're gonna start talking this sabotage stuff, then I will show you what sabotage is. If I were Toto Wolff, that would be my response. Baxty, honestly, I'd be like, right, well, because reputational hazard is a thing now. Because Lewis has spoken enough to it that his fans all over the world will take it and translate it into Toto stabbing Lewis Hamilton in his back. So I reckon Toto at some stage will be like, all right, then cool. Like, yeah, if that's what it's going to be anyway, and we haven't done it yet, then well, how am I incentivized not to? True or false, Baxter?
He won't do it. We all forget that he and Lewis are close. Like they do have
close.
Well, no, come on now. Like okay, obviously Toto's going to be disappointed he's losing his driver, and I think not just because he's losing Lewis, but also he made a promise to get that 8th World Championship to Lewis, and he hasn't delivered. He failed. Yeah, and he will be very disappointed in that fact that he's not been able to do that. People are just overblowing things. Like the online discourse the last few days has been the most toxic I have ever seen. It's ridiculous. Literally Mercedes can't do anything without being criticized. Like they put up a nice post about here's how we're encouraging more women into the workplace. They're like, oh, well, you could do a better job with Lewis's car, couldn't you? It's just like, grow up,
mate. That was just awful.
Up. Like, you dickheads. Sorry, that's going to get bleeped.
It's techie, bruv. But it is a type of Lewis Hamilton fandom is a type of religion, chaps. I think we need to address it in its proper terms, right? This level of devotion,
The
when
cult.
it's like that, yeah, when it's like that, like you can't, like, what truth? Objective.
The
Like,
only
what?
truth they know is Lewis winning. Like, I mean, I saw somebody trying to relitigate Toto celebrating a constructors' championship hours after Lewis lost in Abu Dhabi. It's like, okay, Lewis lost and that's horrible, but they still won a constructors' championship, and there were mechanics and engineers and strategists who'd worked damn hard over the course of an entire season to win a record-breaking 8th consecutive constructors' championship. And my God, did they deserve to celebrate? Because it wasn't a walk in the park like the previous few years. They'd had to work bloody hard for it. And okay, Lewis got screwed out the drivers, and it was the worst thing we've ever seen. But why can't they celebrate?
Oh, Baxter, this one's
Yeah, but
techie. We were all agreed until now. Baxter, this one's techie. The way I reacted to this is why I'm a part-time cult LH team member, even though they will deny all knowledge of that. But when I saw that, Baxter, it started with this. When I saw Bottas doing somersaults into the swimming pool, I was like, nah, I'm not feeling this. This is tragic. Bottas can't be, especially after the performance that Bottas put in Abu Dhabi, when yet again in clutch time the fella was fugazi, nowhere to be seen, did his best Casper the Ghost impression. Do you know what I mean? I didn't really want to see. I didn't see the engineers celebrating backstage, if I'm honest with you, so I couldn't react to it in real time.
Yeah, the video in question is Toto crowd surfing across across a crowd.
Oh, that's chaos. But Shez, talk to me about this, bro, because I don't know.
I mean, Cameron, first of all, like, just to your Bottas point, I'm gonna say it right now, tongue in cheek, but like, Bottas had done a job in Hungary in 2021 already, right? So what more did he need to do in Abu Dhabi?
Cue the Max Verstappen fans in the comments.
Oh, mate, I love it. Well, listen, go on, Shez.
Yeah, I mean, the optics of it aren't brilliant if that's the only lens that you're going to look at this through, right? Like, if all you're going to look at it through is that F1 and Lewis Hamilton are synonymous, they are the same thing, then yeah, obviously it's going to look pretty bad, isn't it? But as Baxley says, Toto's not just beholden to one driver; he's beholden to his entire team, and like the amount of pressure that Mercedes were put under by F1 and the FIA to not take this forward, to like, okay, if you take it forward, it's not going to go anywhere. You're gonna suffer. We're gonna make it worth your while if you don't. All of that stuff, and that video where he comes out in the black polo neck, and like, it looks like we're at a funeral, and has a conversation with the press afterward. That's the stuff that I remember from the aftermath of 2021. Not the crowd surfing, which was a leaked video from a private party.
Okay, fair. So there's context, but still, people don't care for context. What context? But Shez, I will tell you this. Even as I'm look at me, just gone scorched earth all of a sudden as I'm remembering Bottas flipping into the swimming pool. Listen, let me say this quickly before we move on to talk about something other than Mercedes for 9 minutes or less. Brother, I didn't like the Bottas thing. I just thought that was tone deaf. After everything that had happened, the last lap, Massey, Verstappen, like, it's too much. Valtteri, this isn't the time for the after party or whatever. Cool, if Toto wants to do the crowd surfing, he can't be mourning for the rest of his life what had happened in Abu Dhabi to Lewis. But Valtteri Bottas, because for me, he's partially to blame in all. If he'd have driven as valiantly as Checo Perez did that day, we might be having a different conversation about Abu Dhabi, or even previously in Mexico and Cota. Do you know what I mean? There were more than a couple Grand Prix when Valtteri went missing as Mercedes number 2 driver. Do you know? That will never sit well with me ever. Valtteri Bottas in the swimming pool. What are you doing, chap? Anyway, that's got me. Look at me, fully paid up member of Cult LH yet again. But to be fair, there's certain times that are just Valtteri Bottas. What are we doing, lads? Come on, Valtteri. pimp card revoked instantly and forever on the back of that performance at Abu Dhabi. Go on, let's talk about other stuff. In fact, let me ask you this final question on Mercedes Baxty. Are Mercedes back?
Getting there. I think the upgrades do seem to be working. There's an upgrade coming in Spain. I think they're planning upgrades all the way every race until Silverstone, I think, or maybe even the summer break. I mean, it's a long, and there's a floor upgrade coming as well, which that's going to be big. So getting there, I still think they're off the pace of. I know Ferrari were, the worst we've seen them in this Binotto era Ferrari we saw in Canada. McLaren and Red Bull are still quicker than Mercedes, but the gap has definitely shrunk. And I think we can put to rest any threat of Aston Martin and RB catching them up.
Shez, talk to me about Scuderia Ferrari. What happened to them, bruv? What's going on? Do you know what I mean? What is this?
It was a bit of a mess, wasn't it? I mean, I think
it's that Charles Leclerc again. Shez is what it is. Do you know what I mean? too error prone and all that.
Yeah, that's it. Put him in as team principal. He'll do the job for you. I mean, I think that was just I'm hoping that was just a blip, because it doesn't seem to fit really the trajectory that Ferrari have been following over the course of this season so far. And it's the first time I think that Charles finished outside the top 4 all season. Is that right? Guys, come on. Yeah, it was awful. It was awful, and it was awful from qualifying onwards, wasn't it? Like, not really reading the conditions, not really understanding what everybody else was doing, being too confident with their times, not using the new tires. And to your point, Charles probably did have a hand in that dry tire choice when they came in for the safety car. So yeah, that's probably a little bit on him, but I think the team from top to bottom didn't cover themselves in glory particularly, and it was all capped off by a slightly silly spin under no threat from Carlos a bit later.
Carlos 1.0. I did not like that. That was a very familiar
World's
type
most
of
expensive
mistake.
lawnmower, eh?
What is he doing? That was a very, very that was reminiscent of Carlos 1.0. I thought we graduated away from him, evolved.
Everybody does it for a little bit in the season. Carlos does it every season. He has a little purple patch where he's amazing, and you think, why is this guy not the greatest driver on the grid right now? And then he goes back to normal again.
I have to take some responsibility for the Ferrari scrub, because I did say, oh yeah, Charles Leclerc's going to win this weekend, and then that happened. So sorry, Ferrari fans, it's all my fault. And Red Bull going to win in Spain.
Let's go. Wow, Red Bull are going to win in Spain.
No, I think so too.
That's the problem, lads. Now we go back to the proper tracks around which there are no curbs, and Red Bull with that bloody anti-dive and anti-squat, stiff lateral suspension, etc. It feels like Maximilian Verstappen's gonna be dominant again, isn't he?
You know what they do, Cameron? They need to stick that chicane back into the final sector. That'll do it.
Something. I mean,
no one ever.
I know. Bloody no, it's going to get techie, isn't it? Go on, talk to me about driver silly season very quickly. Because, in fact, you know what? Before we do this, I need to ask you guys about Jacques Villeneuve and some of his comments this weekend past. Because I didn't think Jacques Villeneuve was I'm not a big Jacques Villeneuve fan. When he first came on the scene with all that promise, I thought he was going to dominate F1. He got his one championship and then he faded to black. And I was always a bit disappointed with that narrative. A mismatch between what was promised and what happened in actuality. Jacques Villeneuve as a broadcaster, though, I thought he added value, right? Much needed truth saying and antagonism. Baxley, let me ask you this. Danny Rick. Was Jacques Villeneuve right about Danny Rick?
I love Danny Rick, but I think Jack was right. Yeah, he said the unspoken bit out loud, and you sometimes need a pundit to do that. The funniest thing I found in all of this was all the Daniel Ricciardo fans coming out and saying like, "Oh, who's Shaq?" It's like, well, okay. First of all, this is a world champion, something
Do you know
Daniel
what I
has
mean?
never done.
Oof.
This
Or
this
will
is a
ever.
well, we'll never do, unfortunately. This is a guy that's won the Indy 500. This is a guy that's won the IndyCar Championship. This is a guy that had a Lewis Hamilton-esque season in 1996 because he came in as a rookie and challenged Damon for the title. Yeah, he put some respect on his name because he
True.
was a pretty useful peddler. Okay, his career went off the tracks after he won the championship, but he knew what he was doing, and he was very fast behind the wheel. I mean, some of his music choices are slightly questionable. That single is dreadful. But yeah, no, you need broadcasters, somebody who will just come out and say the thing. Like when you look at football, you've got Roy Keane. Roy Keane will just come out and say the unspoken bit out loud, and that's what Jacques did. He spoke truth, and I think those in the paddock tried to rally around him because Daniel's the lovable, affable guy, and he's godfather to broadcasters' children and everything else. But unfortunately, he's right. He shouldn't be in F1 anymore. The whole point of him having that RB seat was to get the Red Bull seat in 2025. They've re-signed Checo Perez. In my view, he shouldn't even be there anymore. Get Liam Lawson in the car now.
Oof. Speak your truth, sir. I don't hate that. There are very many young, hungry lions waiting in the wings, though, right? Mention no names. Jack, Liam, Teo, Felipe. Like, what are we doing here? All right then, chaps. Talk to me about driver silly season proper. Science to Williams, yes or no? Baxter?
Yes.
It's going to happen, but I think he's an idiot for doing it.
Chez?
Yes.
Who's going to be in that Haas team next year, Baxter? 2 names, please.
Behrman. I'm still holding out hope. Oh no, it can't be Sonoda anymore, can it?
What?
Ocon.
Oof. And then what say you, Shez? Over Joe, by the way, because he's looking to bring 30 million USD. Which of those two?
That's where my money would be at. I think they still need a bit of
Ocon and Behrman.
No, I think Joe. I think Joe will be in there
instead of Ocon or Behrman.
Probably instead of Ocon. I think Ferrari are going to want.
That's not. That's not meritocracy, is it?
No, but they need one driver that's going to bring them some cash and one driver that's going to. That Ferrari have said, please, can you run this driver, please?
Andrea Kimi Antonelli in F1 in 2024 or 2025?
At the moment, it looks 2026.
Yeah.
What are you saying, Baxter?
As in, back to you, are you saying that he needs another season in F2?
So there's 2 rumours. He's either going to get the Mercedes seat or the other rumour and this came from Kim Illman, who I know isn't always the most popular source, but he is in the paddock, he knows people, is that Ocon has signed a 1-year deal with Mercedes. They're going to keep Kimi in F2, and then Kimi will take the seat in 26, and they'll try and find Ocon another seat in 26. But he's going to go there for a year to sort of oversee that.
Say
what? And apparently the deal is close to being signed as well, if Kim Illman is to be believed.
Oh, the humanity. I
actually don't think that's that nonsensible though, because like
the Ocon to Mercedes for 1 year, bro. That's chaos. What are you talking? Like that's.
Doesn't you think Ocon should be there for longer?
No, I'm just saying that deal is bonkers. That Mercedes, on the back of what's happened, not that he's a bad driver, mind, but on the back of his most recent mistakes.
Him and George together, I don't think it's a good idea. Him and George together would be chaos.
I think fuel and fire is a better idea than that.
For me, Esteban is Haas or Audi. I think is it that he'd be better off going there.
I wouldn't mind seeing Ocon, and I know money's a thing, and Joe's got a good shout because of the 30 million. But Ocon and Behrman, lads.
I think Behrman would have him.
Oh, I don't think so, mate. You still disrespect.
Not straight away.
I don't know why you can't.
I don't think it'll take very long.
Put some respect on Esteban Ocon's name. Listen, he's a driver, chaps. Look at him and look at the tally between him and the head-to-head, even between him and Pierre Gasly.
This season.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He just
What about last season?
well, last
in
season
Gasly's first season at that team.
did he beat Ocon last year? Head-to-head?
Yes, he did. Yes, he did. In races and qualifying.
I don't believe it.
Esteban did have some reliability issues.
I was just about to say.
Yeah, Pierre did beat him fair and
see it.
square.
But it doesn't explain their qualifying pace difference, though.
No.
Listen, the VAR and on that bombshell. You guys have been legends. For Shez, for Baxty, do me a favour if you're listening on a podcasting platform, 5 stars and a follow. If you're watching on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe. I've been your boy Cameron F1. Between now and next time, as always, remember to look but never stare.